Hello everybody, this is Alex from Hardcore Guides, bringing you my guide for Metroid Dread, 0% items on Dread difficulty. Today we are doing part 1 entitled Charge Beam. So let me explain a few things on how this is going to go and what Dread mode is basically about. So Dread mode, as it says there in the option select for difficulty, is a one-hit KO mode. You get shot by an enemy, you run into an enemy, or even like a hazard, you will die in one hit, no matter what your health is, and go back. There are exceptions, though. There are exceptions. That's why this is not technically a no damage run, because you can actually go into a hot or even cold area, still take damage, but not actually die. But every other enemy in this game hits you once, you're done for it. 0% items basically means I'm not going to be getting E-tanks or missile expansions. So basically, I'm not upgrading my health or my missiles. You start off with 15 missiles in this game, and you end with 15 missiles in this game if you're doing a 0% run like I am. 0% will show up at the mission results screen when you finish the game entirely, and from there, yeah, you pretty much just see what your stats are, you see how long it took you to beat it, and they'll show you, of course, your item completion rate, which for me will be 0. So starting off, learn the parry timing. That is super important. This first part right here, the first enemy that you run into that allows you to parry, simple. It's basically a cutscene. Just hit X, go for the parry. These guys, you want to do a run parry. These bat flying enemies is a run up and parry. Those blob enemies I'm shooting down, those ones, for the most part, are relatively kind of easy to take down. They take about a couple shots to kill. But parry the bird guys. They take too long to kill with just normal power beam. So just might as well use parry and then get the full, I guess you could say, parry shot on them. We'll probably just call it that. I'm also going to be keeping in me skipping the cutscenes because, well, I just don't want to edit everything out entirely. Because it would just take too long. This was all recorded in one session. This took me about 5 hours to do. And I recorded all parts. And I think it was up to 25 or 26 parts. Or whatever it is. By now, if you're playing on Dread mode or even watching me do it, you either have played the game yourself and you already know how Dread works. Or there's also the possibility that, this guide may come in handy if you might not know where to go next. And that's where I'm kind of partly keeping in me skipping cutscenes comes into play too. Is I'm trying to keep this as connected as I possibly can. And I'm going to be naming them based on what upgrade I basically get next. So, upgrade in terms of power suit upgrade, because those I will be getting. Those do not count toward the items list, by the way. Something I forgot to mention, that very first enemy that you see in the very, very beginning of the game, the very first guy, the crystallized turtle enemy, stand on the ledge and shoot him, unless you're really good at parry times, and then go for that. And then running parry, I should probably explain this real quick. Running parry is basically while you're running, you're going to hit X, and then you'll do a charged hit attack thing, and of course, whoever happens to run into it gets, parried. And typically, running parry is a lot easier to pull off, and a lot safer to pull off than just a regular parry attack. Parry was a thing that came from Metroid 2 Remake, so if you're wanting somewhere to go and play that, another game that has it in it, then there you go. But yeah, so back to what I was saying, this run pretty much is going to be, of course, mainly just it's technically a run, but at the same time it's a guide. I'm going to show you guys how to get past certain things. There's at least 1, maybe 2 missile expansions that we have to avoid that were very hard to get past, and I will show you how I get past those ones specifically. Mainly only one in question. There's really only one in question that gave me that much difficulty to get past, and I think it's this one right here. This one right here. Later on in the game, the area of Arturia is going to be frozen over. And you have to go back to, I think, Kataris, I think it was, and kill off the experiment, thus, regenerating heat and causing this place to kind of melt. And therefore, you got to come back through here, and that part right there is locked off. I probably should also say, well, it's kind of too late, but yeah, massive spoiler warning, so if you don't want things spoiled ahead of time, I would suggest maybe not watching this, at least with audio on, just in case. But that should be hopefully the only one spoiler. I apologize, I probably should have not done that, but either way, we're still going to get to that point, regardless, right? But still, so the other thing I was talking about is that this guide will also potentially help people that may be new to Metroid Dread, and therefore, like, if you need help figuring out where to go in terms of, you know, where do I go after Charge Beam and so forth, then this will basically be that. I'm going to be going from Charge Beam to, like, I don't remember what was next after Charge Beam, to be honest with you. I'm kind of forgetting on top of my head. I think it was Phantom Cloak, I think was next, because you go fight the boss, yeah. So something like that, right? Some of these videos are going to be 2 minutes long, some of them are going to be like 9 minutes long, but bear in mind that that's pretty much the style I'm going for, is pretty much just running from one end to the other. I do sometimes kind of get a little bit, I guess you could say, lost-ish, but it's more so that I just, yeah, basically get lost and eventually end up where I need to go. It mostly happens in the Emmy rooms. I tend to kind of get, like, stuck with dealing with an Emmy, so I have to avoid him outright and then figure out how to get around him and then get through the way that we're technically supposed to go. So, Dread has a very good way of telling you, for the most part, where to go at all times. You just had to kind of be on the lookout for it and get the feeling for it. Which, since we're going for 0% items, I'm going to show you the main path that I take to pretty much get to every destination. Speaking of 0% items, I am 99% sure that E-Tanks that are the 1 out of 4 E-Tanks, the ones where you collect 4 of and you make an E-Tank, I'm pretty sure that those most likely count toward the 0% items. I know I said this was supposed to be a guide. I'm trying my best here, but I'm trying to explain so many different things at once. But something I kind of forgot to explain is, why do I stop at certain places and shoot enemies? The reason why is because it's just easier to stop on a ledge. If you had the ledge above an enemy that cannot fly, you are better off shooting from that ledge to kill the enemy than you are just going down there and going for a parry. And then for a situation like that, where there's those little enemies that are in the water kind of swimming around, those guys are a lot harder to avoid. And so you'll probably usually have to stand somewhere, shoot them at a safe distance, and there you go. So Dread, before the video gets finished too quickly, Dread mode requires huge amounts of knowledge check. It's like 85% knowledge check and like 15% skill. That 15% skill mostly comes from like fighting bosses and such, and like a little bit of like getting around here and there and just dealing with normal enemies. The knowledge check part of it comes from knowing what rooms have what, knowing where to go at all times, or at the very least finding a way to go at most times, and then so forth and so forth. Basically, yeah, this game, Dread mode, is just a huge giant knowledge check. That's pretty much the biggest part of it, I can say for sure. As far as I'm aware, Dread mode, I believe, has a thing where, you can hear my laundry go off in a minute. It should, I think, basically be on normal mode, but you still take one hit, because I haven't really checked it yet. I probably should, but enemies die in like a few hits like they normally would on relatively normal mode. Also, real quick, this little guy up here on the top of the ceiling that shoots down that green ball, whenever he shoots off a green ball, just shoot the green ball first, because usually those things kind of come toward you. They don't exactly home on you, but they do try to make it to where they come, well, at you, basically. Just shoot those, get some missiles back if you need them, and what have you. But anyway, that's it for the first part, and I'll see you guys in part 2, which should be Phantom Cloak. So, take care, everybody.